Good morning, everyone, and welcome to National Graduate Week with Babcock. I'm Suki, I'll be your host for this presentation on behalf of Career Map, and today I am so pleased to welcome Michael, Finley, Eve, Hamza, and Katie for this session. As we go through the session, please feel free to use the chat box, and if you have any questions, please send them across, and we'll try to answer them during the Q&A at the end. With that, I'm now going to hand over to Michael to get us started.
Good morning, everyone. Very nice to speak to you this morning. We're just going to do a quick round of introductions. So my name's Michael. I'm a physics graduate with Babcock. I've been here since September last year. And just to give you an overview of what I've been involved in. So I'm a Radiometric, as you'll hear, is a massive engineering company. They're involved in all different sectors and areas. And one of those is the civil nuclear industry, so basically anything to do with nuclear power, and that's the area that I work in. So obviously once a nuclear power station is finished its operations, then it has to be decommissioned, but before that happens, they have to go through and clear out all the radioactive material. So a lot of the stuff I do as a physicist is to support the measurements that identify where the radioactive waste is, and things like that. So I'm based up in Cumbria at Sellafield, which is the biggest nuclear site in Europe. And basically my job involves a whole range of different activities to support those challenges that we have in decommissioning old nuclear facilities. And I think I'll pass you on to Finlay for an introduction.
Yeah, morning all. Nice to meet you if that's all virtually. So I'm a commercial graduate in the aviation sector. So I've been with Babcock since September 2021. Thoroughly enjoyed my time here. I worked on a contract called Hades, which is technical support service around 17 stations around the RAF. So this branches all the way from the north of Scotland all the way down to London and RAF Northolt. So as some of you might have seen with the funeral processions with the Queen, RAF Northolt was a massive centre for all the work that went on there. My second placement was working in our civil side of the aviation business, which is part of our air ambulances, and I've now just moved into the legal department. I've been in Portsmouth for a lot of my placement, and now I'm in London. So yeah, hopefully enjoy today's presentation and find out a lot more about Babcock. I think I'm passing on to Katie now.
Hi guys, so I'm Katie and I've been in Babcock as an electronic graduate since 2021, September, and I'm in the maritime sector of Babcock, so we handle the nuclear submarines, the maintenance and the build of them, mainly in Plymouth at the biggest dockyard. But so I've been moving around placements in the submarine service engineering sector. So currently working on through life costs and the progress on the costs for the new submarine for Dreadnought. And I think next up is Eve.
Hi, I'm a business operations management graduate in the land sector. So I am currently working on planning and utilisation at the London Fire Brigade training contract. So we train all the firefighters for London. I've also had a placement in DSG, which is our defence maintenance contract for all of the armoured and wheeled vehicles for the MOD based in Bovington. So we also have a driver training contract down there as well, where we deliver training for driving tanks. I think I'll pass it on to Hamza next.
Okay, so morning all. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have to just going to give a couple of slides on what Babcock are, who we are and what we do. So at Babcock we have one purpose, and that is creating a safe and secure world together. This is done over 4 unique and challenging sectors, as you've just heard: aviation, land, marine, and nuclear. Through these 4 sectors, we defend nations, protect communities, and save lives all around the world in an ever-changing environment. We support and enhance our customers' defense capabilities and critical assets through a range of product and service solutions. We meet our customers' requirements for increased availability, affordability, and capability, whilst ensuring, as Babcock, we get home safe every day after the high quality work. We as a business exist because of its people. We are people-centric, and our six principles supplement the strategy, purpose, and performance of all the individuals that are a part of Babcock. Our 6 principles that underpin our success are as follows. Be curious. We believe in positively challenging the status quo, asking how might we, how can we, and how will we. Number 2, think, outcomes. We believe in measuring success by the results we deliver and the positive impact we make, reflected in the surrounding community and the appreciative customers we have. 3, be kind. We believe in being kind to ourselves so we can deliver our optimum output, being kind to each other, and then being kind to the planet. Number 4, collaborate. We believe that Babcock is greater than the sum of its parts. We work across multiple job functions and sectors to deliver them to the best result. Just reference land, aviation, marine, and nuclear. 5, be courageous. We believe in being brave, ambitious, and determined. Linked into being curious, we are actively asked to provide our own thoughts as this gains a deeper solution to the work we do. And finally, own and deliver. We believe everyone has a part to play in Babcock's and our customers' success, which you'll feel part of and feel a responsibility to do so. If we could pass the next slide. Oh yeah, great. So what do Babcock do? So we're an international defence company operating in our focus countries of the UK, Australasia, Canada, France, and South Africa, with exports to additional markets. These are opportunities all around the globe that we have a chance to go to and work. We provide a range of products and service solutions to enhance our customers' defence capabilities and critical assets. In marine, we ensure the Royal Navy goes to sea safely. We support navies around the world, and we deliver marine technology solutions. In nuclear, we've supported the continuous sea deterrent. We sustain the entirety of the UK's submarine fleet, and we also take a leading role in all civil nuclear activity, from building to then decommissioning. In land, we ensure that the British Army can focus on their missions safely by supporting their vehicles. We also focus on the individuals and provide the skills to do their job with our technical training programs. In aviation, we save lives with our aerial emergency medical search and rescue services. We protect communities with our firefighting services. And finally, we support the defence of the nations with our Royal Air Force in the UK and overseas. Our business is underpinned by a deep understanding of technology integration, which is evolving day by day, and engineering, infrastructure management, and specialist training. I believe we're going a bit further into each sector now. So I think we're starting with marine with a couple of videos that we've got to show you.
So from that video, you can see that Babcock Marine are quite established in different places around the world. I'm based in Bristol myself, but the Plymouth is the largest naval support site in Western Europe, with our dockyard there. So, for example, it says that we're developing in Oman. I think one of the questions has said, as there are many opportunities to travel, but for example, there is the opportunity to do a placement in Oman for about 3 to 4 months, which will be mainly project management, but it's open to different backgrounds for engineering as well. So I'll be going there hopefully come February for 3 to 4 months to work. And then also with Mission Systems, our biggest customer is the MOD, but we also are using Mission Systems. We're working with Spain to develop the S-80 subs there. So there's plenty of opportunities to travel and work with different cultures as well. I think the next one is land for the video.
So I currently work in the land sector, and as I said, I'm working on the London Fire Brigade training contract. We also do fleet management for the London Fire Brigade, as well as the Met Police, and we also do training for the Met Police as well, alongside all of our defence work. We have defence training contracts as well. It's a really exciting area to work in because of the such vastly different customers that we have. Not only do we work with the MOD, but we have civil customers as well. I'd say one of the most exciting things I've worked on is ensuring that we have enough trainers to train everyone in the London Fire Brigade. It's an ever-changing contract with, as you can imagine, with things like Grenfell and constantly having to change the needs of the customer, but also be reactive to things that are happening in the environment. So over the summer, we had some of the hottest days on record where London Fire Brigade was needed to. We had, I think it was the busiest day on record. Every fire engine that we had to be out, and Babcock played a massive part in ensuring that we got that up and running. I think someone's asked what some of the projects could be working on land. We also have Babcock Vehicle Engineering, where we actually convert police cars into police cars for the Met Police, as well as other agencies, so armoured vehicles for people like diplomats and various other things. It's a really exciting contract. There are graduates currently doing continuous improvement and one's working on strategy. I've also worked in business winning, so I worked on the rebid of the Met Police contract. So there's lots of different things to work on in land. I think we're moving over to aviation next.
Yeah, so that was a little bit about a whistle-stop tour of aviation. So yeah, I've been in aviation for a year and a bit now. I'm biased, but I absolutely love the sector that I work in. We've got two main markets. So we work in civil and we work in defence. So defence is majority with the UK government. We've also got a contract with the French government called FOMIDEC, and we are working on a joint venture bid with the Canadian government for future aircrew training, or also known as FACT. We have some really attractive contracts that we work on in aviation. So the ones that probably everyone knows and is familiar with on all the occasions around the country is the Red Arrows and the Hawk contracts. So these are planes that we maintain and support on the ground, and train those pilots alongside BAE systems. So you get exposure to great companies and massive corporations who also have a global footprint. So your opportunities aren't just limited within those and network within Babcock. You can branch out and talk to multiple other people. Other contracts that are very interesting, FSTA, that's another support service we offer alongside Airbus and Thales and a company called Air Tanker. So this is a unique air fueling contract, which is done in the air, where there is one plane flying and then there is another plane that flies up and refuels next to it. So that's it's an incredible thing. If you want to read a little bit extra about that, that's a great contract to read about. Another one is MFTS. So MFTS is a military flying training school. So what we do is we take the first people who come into the RAF when they're very young. We train them all the way up to when they eventually step in that plane and are a fully fledged pilot. The military flying training school offers all sorts of areas that you might be exposed to when becoming a pilot, and we take them through that whole journey as part of the contract we offer with the government. There's another as a side sort of venture of that, there is a JV, a joint venture with Lockheed Martin called Ascent. So that's another example of a company that we work with, who's a massive multinational corporation, and we work together and provide to the government, and also work alongside Babcock. So that gives you a bit of a whistle stop again of the defence side of the business. Civil is completely different. We provide aircraft in helicopters, also known as rotary wing, and we provide those pilots. So we supply 10 to 15 charities and police services around the country. So those will be our helicopters that drop down and rescue people from all areas of the country in very tough scenarios that we save lives. I've worked on that for 6 months, and I'm still working on that as I move through my legal placement, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. It means you work with the community, you work with charities, and it's a great something to work on. So I'm working on the commercial side of the business. So this means that I work on contract management, the life cycle of the contract, and also get exposed face to face to the customer in terms of any negotiations, disputes, or just working collaboratively. That's a massive thing for the government, is working collaboratively. Sorry about that. With Babcock, and yeah, it's great to have a blossoming relationship when you meet at sites and come up with these ideas and solutions. Hope you enjoyed that, and any questions, put in the chat function and I can answer at the end.
All right, so that was another quick overview of the nuclear sector within Babcock. As you saw from the video, we're involved in a huge range of different nuclear activities, from the nuclear submarines across to civil nuclear power production and decommissioning. I can't speak too much about the submarine side because I've not been involved in it at all, and I probably wouldn't be able to speak too much about it even if I was. But on the civil nuclear side, there's a huge amount of engineering going on. So we've got engineering supporting the new build power station at Hinkley Point, and of course there's a huge amount of decommissioning going on across the UK. So a whole host of power stations across the UK that are now being decommissioned that obviously pose pretty huge engineering challenges. Particularly where I'm based at Sellafield, it's a really old site dating back to just after the Second World War, where they did a lot of the kind of early experimental work into sort of nuclear technology. So there's a load of like legacy problems that we have to deal with. A lot of old buildings that are maybe not in the best condition, that are housing really radioactive material. So there's a huge amount of engineering challenges that Cavendish are helping to support in that area. For me, from a physics point of view, there's a huge amount of like specialism in instrumentation at Babcock. We basically on the Sellafield site are pretty much the specialists at providing. We support all the radiological protection instrumentation. So that's when people go into a nuclear plant, when they come out, they have to monitor themselves, scan their hands, their feet, their bodies to make sure they're not taking any contamination home with them. So Babcock are responsible for that. Some of the stuff I've been involved in personally that's been quite exciting. So not just sometimes when I get to go out on the nuclear plants and take measurements, but I've also been able to get involved in developing new technologies. So one of the things that I helped develop was like a kind of new handheld radiological device for going out and scanning glove boxes. So I don't know if you know, like at the start of The Simpsons when Homer's like got his hands in the thing dealing with the nuclear material. So that's a glove box. Basically, there's hundreds of those at Sellafield, and in order to decommission them before you can actually take them apart, you need to prove that they're clean. So I've actually been able to get involved in actually having input to the design of a new instrument that's going to help support that. So that's been really exciting. Another placement that I've been doing recently, which is kind of not so much physics, but more with the science and hazard management team, which is a little bit different. It's more to do with having sort of estimating hazards and managing hazards at a larger scale. So it's basically been to do with a nuclear power station down in Trawsfynydd in Wales, and that's basically the power station shut down in about 1991, and the plan was to sort of have it locked down for the next kind of 90 years, and then they were going to come back in 2080 and start taking the place apart, but they've realised that's going to cost far too much money just to maintain the building. So a team from Cavendish has been brought in to basically go in and investigate sort of the state of the place and come up with a plan for all the characterization. So that means like all the measurements that are going to need to take place before they can actually take the place apart. So that's actually been really exciting. It's been quite fun kind of investigative stuff, because a lot of the old practices, I guess, in the nuclear industry, there was a lot of kind of stuff that didn't get documented. So a lot of it feels quite investigative, and every day there's like new challenges getting thrown up. So I find that's the most exciting thing about my job, that every day is definitely different. I'm not just saying that. Some days I'll be out on plant taking measurements, some days I'll be at a desk doing analysis, and then some days I'll be down physically maintaining instruments, calibrating instruments, and helping to develop new ones. So definitely a wide range of stuff, and that's just me in a very, very niche area within the nuclear business at Babcock. So there's definitely a lot of stuff going on. I think we'll go back to the presentation now, if that's all right.
Brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, I'm joining a little bit late. I think we've had lots of technical issues with one of our recruiters, unfortunately. But I just wanted to say hello to everyone and to thank everyone for dialing in today. I work in our HR function and I oversee the graduate programmes across the group. and I'm really delighted to see some of the great questions we're getting through. So please continue to ask your fantastic questions. We're seeing a lot of those coming through. What I really hope you're getting out of today and learning about Babcock is really how varied we are. We have so many capabilities across the group, and as you've heard from each of our graduates, they're all in slightly different disciplines, different sectors across the group. There's so much you can get involved in here, and it really is a place that you can have longevity of career in terms of working within different pockets of the business and learning about new teams. And the international aspect, which is only growing, really does add that exciting dimension as well. So we do have graduates that have international experiences too on programme to help with that development. So I really hope that that's something you're learning about today. Do continue to ask the questions. I'm going to do a bit of a top tips, an overview of our application process, because I think it's really helpful to give you some practical advice as to how to approach our application process. And I really hope that helps to give you the confidence to submit your applications, given we're live on our campaign. But I will hand back now to the graduates to run through this technology slide, and I'll run through the application process shortly. So thank you. Back to the graduates on technology.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about technology in my job. Obviously, as I've just been speaking about, there's a lot of different challenges across the nuclear industry that involve a lot of different technology implementation. To be fair, sometimes in the nuclear industry, in the civil nuclear industry, some of the technology that's been used in the plants is quite old and dated because they've obviously been built years and years ago. And that throws up a lot of interest and challenges because sometimes the cutting edge technology can't actually be implemented. So a lot of the times, some of the instruments we develop, we have to kind of have a really good insight to some of these really older technologies, as well as having an insight to the cutting edge. And it's definitely kind of the centre of what we do in my area of the business, is that constantly trying to develop new instrumentations to help solve these problems. So for example, the one that I was talking about, the kind of handheld radiological device, but other things that we're coming up with, kind of really innovative techniques for like sorting and segregating nuclear waste. So one of the things that we're working on called OptiSort, which is like it's a robotic arm basically, which can scan an area, obviously a pile of nuclear waste, and it's using artificial intelligence to identify what the different items of waste are, and then it's using different types of physics sensors to identify how radioactive it is, so that it then automatically sorts and segregates it into the right container. Obviously that's a pretty impressive thing to do. Normally, if you had a human person trying to do that kind of stuff, there's a real danger that they're going to get exposed to radiation, and they'll only be able to spend a really short amount of time doing it. So yeah, we've definitely had a lot of innovative ideas, and as you can see, I mean, that's just a tiny snippet of my area, but Babcock has huge expertise in marine technology, land, aviation. As you can see, that it probably feels even a lot more cutting edge than the stuff in nuclear does. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any input on their side of the business.
I think one thing I would just jump in and say, and thank you for giving that overview, that's really, really useful, is we do have a central technology and innovation team. So one of our exec, Richard Drake, is now heading up that function. He's our Chief Technology and Innovation Officer. There's a lot of investment from Babcock in technology. We have to continue to be at the forefront of technology. So if this is an area that you're interested in, there is definitely projects and involvement that you can have whilst being in your discipline. So I think it's just to kind of let individuals know on the call that, yes, we do have a centralised team. We have a team that is dedicated to this. So whilst there's lots of exciting things going on in the sectors, we do have that dedicated team. And I would encourage you to take a look on our website. We have got many different video clips and insights into what they're currently working on. I think probably one of the most impactful projects, just from my perspective, that the technology team led on was the ventilator project in COVID times, directly impacting on saving lives. And when you hear more about our purpose of creating a safe and secure world together, that is really what we're referring to, keeping people safe. That spans across all of our sectors. And that particular ventilator project, where we had a team working all hours for a very, very tight timeline to get these ventilators ready to save lives, that's a really great example of the team pulling together. And there were people from across the group, so people from marine, land, aviation and nuclear getting involved in that. Many people didn't see their family for weeks on end, probably more than weeks, probably over months on end, because they were so dedicated to getting the ventilators ready as part of our COVID pandemic. So I would encourage you, if you've got a particular interest in this area, do have a look at the www.babcockinternational.com website and have a read up. That particular clip about ventilators always gives me goosebumps. So that's what I would add. Is there anything else anybody on the call would like to add regarding technology in there, or the opportunity, if there are grads on the call that would like to add to that?
Yeah, no, I just a short one to reiterate. I mean, we work in tandem with the government, and I speak on behalf of aviation. But there's a project called RAF Astra, which the government and the authorities are aware that they also need to strive to achieve in their technology. But we have the specialities in the technology department, so they give it to us, and then we push ourselves further and further. And we know that the competition of other corporate companies in our industry, they are developing at quite a rapid pace. So it's an exciting thing to be a part of, and it's quite a race in that sense. So you'd definitely be part of something much greater.
Brilliant, thank you for that. Great. So I think now we can probably move on to a bit of insight from myself on the actual process. So many of you are probably sat on the call thinking, well, what is next? How do I apply? We are now live in the campaign. So we launched in September this year. We've got a number of roles available, more than I've seen for the last 5 years, actually, in terms of variety of roles, many different business roles, everything from HR, procurement, IT, data analytics, all the way through to more technical kind of naval engineering roles, marine engineering. We've got electrical, electronic, mechanical, you name it, software systems. We've got many different disciplines. So it's all live now. It's ready to apply for on the website. So I would encourage you, and I will put a link in the chat box to our direct website page. I would encourage you to take a look on that site. There's lots of interactive content on there, case studies of some of our current grads, so you can get more insight in terms of career paths, etc. But also lots of information about what you can get involved in as part of those roles. So we are live. The process is that you fill out an application form online. We ask you a few questions about your background, and we ask for your CV and cover letter. We then screen that as part of our recruitment process, and we then invite you to online testing. So that is through an external provider, fairly brief tests, nothing too onerous. And then from that testing, we then look to select forward to assessment centre, and we run those across sectors, and some of those are mixed discipline and some of them are just single discipline, but they normally have a number of activities. So typically it's things like one-to-one competency based interviews. Sometimes we have business games where we like to get you interacting with one another, see how you communicate, etc. Sometimes we have presentations, so we'll ask you to have a look at a topic, bring your thoughts, and then we will ask you some questions about that. And there's always chance for you to ask questions about Babcock, about the role, about what it's like to work here. So one thing I would say is it's a two-way process. So please think about and be curious about what you want to ask if you are to apply for the roles. This has to be right as much as from your perspective, as much as us feeling that you could be the right fit for the programme. So it really is a two-way process. And my top tips really would be to be confident. Don't be put off by the fact these are graduate programs. It can be quite, and I remember applying, and I'm sure all the grads on the call remember applying for different roles. You can get into this mindset very easily of, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm the right candidate. You know, we want you to work for us. You know, we're looking for really talented, motivated individuals. We're looking for people that want to come and make a difference and bring their ideas. We're not looking to catch anybody out. And I think it's very, very easy as a candidate to get into that mindset of, oh, what if I do this wrong? What if I say this wrong? You know, we're not looking for mistakes. We're looking for your creativity, your passion, you know, understanding why you want to work with us. So bring your confidence and be curious. Be confident enough to ask your questions. Have a think about those in advance, because for us, that really shows that you've done your due diligence and you've put the research in. So it's not a bad thing to ask questions. It's actually a really good thing. And sometimes I know from a candidate perspective, it can feel a bit worrying to ask lots of questions. It's not worrying, it's good. So I would really encourage that from your perspective. I think the other two tips I would give is proofread. Really make sure that before you hit the submit button that you've proofread your application and that you haven't got, you know, simple things like spelling mistakes or grammatical errors, because the more effort you put into that process up front, the better. We do get a lot of applications. I think at the moment on the graduate campaign, we're looking at over 2,000 at the moment, and we only launched on the 5th of September. So we do get a lot of applications. So putting that extra effort in at the front end to really ensure your application's right will pay off for you due to the volume that we get. And my final tip, before I open up to the other grads to see what their tips are, would be to tailor your application. So if you're applying for a mechanical engineering role, think about what it is about mechanical engineering. Think about how that fits with the broader Babcock. You know, maybe do some research on our website to look at any projects that you know that we've been involved in that kind of relate to mechanical engineering or various engineering initiatives. Try and link up and relate it specifically to your CV, your cover letter. So I think that really does stand out. And I've seen some fantastic examples in the past where people have really put that effort in to tailor the application. What is it about commercial, you know, at Babcock? What is it about procurement? What is it about naval engineering? Why is it the industry? What is it about our industry that interests you? You know, have you read the annual report online? You know, what are our results? What are we doing? What are some of our targets as a company? Do read up, do have a look. The website is a great place to look at it. It's got all kinds of information and it is interactive. So have a look on that website and see what you can find out, because it will really help you. So I think really do take that time to tailor your application. As I say, it will definitely pay off, and that really helps you to stand out from lots of others. It's worth the effort. I know it takes a bit more time, but it's definitely worth the effort. So could I just check if any of our other graduates, you know, you guys went through the process, you know this, because you know you were screened and you were sent to assessment centres, etc. So do you guys have any top tips or any experiences you would like to share with everybody on the call?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of your CV and tips, I think it's also just make it about you. You can go online and I'm aware that graduates, you can end up applying to 75 to 100 graduate schemes, and you get all these top tips online and all sorts of standard templates you can use, but make sure it's something about you. Make sure there's something on there that you've done which is specific to your personality, your characteristics, that sets you apart from others. I think it's good, and I've noticed the people on the scheme, they've got something that is separate or special about them. So that's something about, something I'd advise, but just do your preparation as well. Like preparing to fail or failing to prepare is preparing to fail ultimately. So there's just put the time in, and I'm sure you'll get the benefits from it.
I think for me as well, one thing I would say is make sure that you make the CV relevant. So if the job application lists certain skills, you know, try and identify things that you've done at university or in previous jobs that have linked to those, so that you can really, yes, again, like Finley said, stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, I would echo that. Even not just from a personality point of view, but even from a technical point of view. Like, you know, for me, for instance, I'm doing nuclear physics now, but at university I did physics and astronomy, and then I did a master's that was all to do with space exploration instrumentation, which is obviously kind of completely different from what I'm doing now. But actually, when I actually looked into it, there's a lot of crossover between the type of instruments that we use to measure radiation on nuclear sites. It's the like very same kind of principles and technology that goes into satellites that they send into space to measure like radiation in space. So I had to kind of go through my courses and look at all the kind of individual stuff and look for potential crossover. So sometimes that's a good thing to do. That you might look at a job and think, oh no, that's not me. That's that's not something that I've done. But you know, if you really dig down, if you've done, especially if you're in a technical area, engineering or science, there's definitely going to be a lot of crossover that you'll be able to highlight if you just look carefully at the job profile and then go through your courses. That would be my advice.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for those insights. I think they're really, really useful. So I think now we should really spend the next 10-15 minutes for the questions. We've had some fantastic questions through on the chat. So I think if we just start to work through those, if that's okay, career map from your perspective, we just want to maximise the time we've got left. So I think we've had a few on the Q&A only button, and there's a really quick couple of ones that I will cover off really quickly. So is there an age limit for the programme? No, there isn't. So absolutely not. What I would encourage you to do is have a look at the website, have a look at the criteria that's required for that role. And that's really the criteria. So we're not looking at age, we're looking at, have you got a degree within the relevant discipline? And we don't always specify disciplines. So, you know, many of the time we open it up to lots of different backgrounds. So have a look at the area you're interested in, have a look at the what will be required, and then just have a think about if that's the background that you've got and if you feel comfortable to apply for the role. So age is certainly not something we limit. And there was another great question here around project management, and the reason I'm just going to quickly answer this is because I'm currently creating a new graduate program in project management. So you've noted here the course is about to end in 2023. When can I start applying? Absolutely, you can start applying now. So we've advertised our new project management program, which is across the Babcock group. That is live now. The team are sifting applications as we speak, and we will be bringing people into the business September 23. So even though you've not actually graduated yet, please don't worry about that. You can still apply with your predicted grades, and you know, we will start the intake in September 23. If you weren't ready in September 23, I would suggest you apply in the next cycle, which will be September 23 for September 24 intake. So we always launch our applications a year in advance, if that makes sense. So it depends on your individual circumstances. So I think if we start from the bottom of the chat, I think they were the initial questions. We've had a question here. Please, could you share some of the projects I could be working on in land? So I'm going to open that up to the graduates in terms of their experiences on some of the projects or types of activity they've been involved in if they've worked in land. So over to the graduates on this one.
Yeah, so I briefly touched on it, but I think some of the projects that you can be working on, absolutely continuous improvement is needed everywhere within the business. I worked on continuous improvement on our DSG contract. There's various ones all around land. There's also a lot of project management ones. So I'm currently working on planning and utilisation, so ensuring that we have enough trainers to deliver training and trying to understand what exactly goes into being a trainer, how to develop a trainer to be fit to train. We're working on bringing in trainers with no firefighting experience, so that's a new part of the business and something that I'm also working on developing pathways for that. There's also sector level jobs, so there's strategy, there's business winning, as I mentioned, there's HR placements, so it just really varies, and it's there's always opportunities to work in every part of land. They're very good at getting placements out there. Yeah, I think that's sort of a brief overview of all the different things. There's so many different things you can touch on in land.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. That's a great answer. We've had a question here. Do you have the same culture across the different sectors, or do you run independently? I'll just give a very brief answer and then I'll hand over to the grads on this one. So, I mean, the graduates work in the sectors. I actually sit at a group level, so I get involved in all the sectors in my role. And I think the one golden thread that's absolutely pivotal is what we mentioned earlier in our presentation, which is creating a safe and secure world together. That's our unified purpose. And it's actually not just UK, that's global. So that maps into all of our key markets and countries. And that's absolutely critical. So we absolutely have a unified purpose. We have a unified set of principles that we all base our work and kind of communities, and that's our starting point. So I think from a cultural perspective, there's been a fantastic piece of transformational work that's gone on within the last 6 to 12 months that I'm sure the graduates on the call will agree with me. There's been a real step change in our culture, and I think, you know, it is that collaboration, coming together, working together, you know, sharing ideas, helping one another, not being afraid to ask questions, etc. I think we're getting a lot better now at working across our sectors, which historically was a bit of a challenge because we have been so federated, and we were encouraged to be federated when I first started 5 years ago. That was the strategy. The strategy has now changed, and we are interlinking and working a lot more closely together. So that would be my very quick answer at a group level. But over to the grads, if you guys have any specific comments in your sectors that you're operating in.
I would say that as graduates, we're actually in a very unique position because we're open to such a wide range. So we had a group graduate induction, we get to meet other graduates in other sectors. So we're actually some of the people within the business that can really drive that forward. I know particularly land and aviation, we now have the same graduate manager, so we can share information there. I've been and looked at some of the aviation contracts. They've also come and looked at us. So we're definitely people within the business that can drive that change. So it's a really unique position, but also one that really benefits when you're on placements as well, because you're able to touch back into that group that you have existing that other people may not have access to.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Any further comments on that cultural point from anybody? No problems if not. So I hope that's helped. We've got a few more questions to work through. I'm just conscious of time. So we had one here. I'm really struggling to get onto a graduate scheme. Graduated 5 years ago, but still no luck. Would you advise I look at doing one of your apprenticeships, as I'm really interested in starting a job at your company? Thank you for your help. So I think it's a really good question. What I would say is do think carefully about your different routes, because apprenticeships are only getting bigger. And whilst this is a graduate focused call, we are expanding our apprenticeship offering. And for the first year, this year, we launched a group-wide apprenticeship scheme in the same month as the graduates. So we're really proud about that, and you know, great news. What I would say on that question is have a look at our early careers site, and I'll put the web link in the chat shortly. And that covers grads and apprentices, and that didn't used to. So you've now got it in one place. You can look at those listings and have a really good look at, you know, what interests you. I think it's really a personal decision around whether you do want to opt for an apprenticeship rather than a graduate program, or vice versa. There is so much more on offer in the apprenticeship space. I think, you know, everybody on the course should be open to looking at that route too. It's, you know, the routes are only increasing into entry level early careers communities for all companies. So Babcock's one of many that are kind of increasing the different entry routes, because we have to get as many talented people as we can do into the business. So have a look at the different options on our website, and we have got a email inbox if you wanted to ask us some specific questions about that program. But I'd probably say start with the website, have a little look, and, you know, think about what you would like out of it, because grad programs and apprenticeships, they differ in terms of timescales sometimes, in terms of location, in terms of discipline. That's quite a personal thing to work through. But if we can help you by answering any questions, please email our inbox which is on our FAQ part of the graduate site and the early careers site. So hopefully we can help you with that. We've had a great question here. Do you work with other police sources or just the Met Police? I don't know if any of our grads can answer that question. I'm thinking particular our land grad will probably this.
Yeah, at the minute it is just Met Police. I know that there's Pathways for Growth, and it's definitely something we're looking at working with other police forces, but at the minute it is just the Met Police.
Fab. Thank you very much for clarifying.
Just to jump on that, on the back of that, so in aviation we do work with Scotland Police, and we also do work for the Dutch Police, and so yeah, I imagine land and aviation will try and work together with the Met Police too. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. There is a lot of overlap with the land and aviation sector in terms of some of the emergency services capabilities and operations. So that makes sense. So thank you for that. We've had a question: can you apply for more than one sector with an application? Yes, absolutely. So you can apply. We don't limit the number of opportunities you apply to, and that would be unfair of us to do so. What I would say is, have a really good think about what your motivation is, because it suddenly can become quite unmanageable when you've got multiple applications in processes, you've got multiple assessment centres, etc. So think really hard about which are your preferred disciplines and which are your preferred sectors. We don't limit it, but I think it's just sensible to try and keep that to a sensible number, just more for your kind of sake, really, as a candidate, being able to manage that and prepare effectively for each of the assessments can be quite hard when you've got multiple going on at the same time. So, but we don't restrict that. So that's no problem. In terms of support with relocating, which is a great question, we do offer support, and it's provided at a local sector level. So it would certainly be something that if you were interested to know the very specifics of that, I would suggest you asked at your assessment centre, because it's very likely it would get mentioned at that assessment centre in terms of what is that breakdown of support for relocating. But it is absolutely something that we support as a organisation to help you. Okay, so there's one here that says, because the graduate market is so competitive, do you have any tips of how I can make my CV stand out, please? I think we have covered this in the top tips. I know some of the grads had mentioned around, relating it specifically to the role you're applying to, and I had also mentioned doing research about the broader organisation, etc. I think it's, in terms of format of the CV, it's really how can I get the information across in a succinct way. So what I wouldn't suggest is submitting a 10-page document. Try and keep it, if you can, to a page, maximum maybe a page and a half. I think that would be a top tip, because if you imagine from a recruiter's perspective, if they've got multiple CVs to look through, the longer the document, the harder it's probably going to be for them to draw the key messages out of there. So it is useful to keep it to a minimum. Also, if you were wondering about what template to use, if you actually look on Google, there's lots of accessible templates, really good templates. I've used one myself before, and I'm sure some of the grads have, in terms of how you actually format it. Rather than you sat there trying to structure it, there are free templates you can download and populate your information into those. And it really helps to structure, because they often have a brief profile at the top of the CV. They'll help you to structure the most recent experience first, so that the recruiter can look at your most recent experiences that would be relevant. And again, just going back to that volume point for the recruiters, it helps them to draw the key messages as soon as they glance at your CV. So I would say have a look online. Prospects, which is a great website, also offer those free resources, and I'm sure Career Map might have resources they could share with you as well on this. So do have a look on Google as well. Okay. We've got here a question: are graduates on scheme given the opportunity to work across land, air, sea and nuclear? I'll open that up to our graduates. I've got an answer to that, but I'll open to the graduates first on if any of you have worked across different sectors in your programme, or if for now you've stayed within your sector. So I'll just open that question out.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Eve alluded to a couple of questions ago, there are, I think, there are plans that the graduates are going to be able to go across all 4 sectors, and I think that sort of one Babcock approach is quite good in terms of future business. If you want to stay, the type of person who likes getting in somewhere and staying there for a long time and building up your network and understanding the whole company from bottom right to the top. I think growing across the sectors is definitely beneficial. But what I would sort of advise and recommend is being proactive and going out and doing that. I think with the Babcock graduate scheme, there's nothing holding you back. There's no fence saying you can't go that far. You can go out and source those opportunities. If there's someone in marine that I've seen on LinkedIn or I've seen on our intranet, I can go out and speak to them, arrange a meeting, and see if there's any opportunities for myself. Personally, I'm looking to do a land placement next, or a marine placement next. So that would have been 3 in aviation and 1 in marine or land. So yeah, those opportunities are available, and I think go out and source them.
Brilliant. Any further comments from the graduates, just to give that opportunity? If not, no problem. No? Okay. So just to echo Finley's point, we are doing a piece of work. I'm actually leading that piece of work at the moment. And when I referred to the project management programme that I've just created, that's a group-wide rotational programme. So yes, we have got plans in place to ensure that we can give graduates the breadth of experience across various sectors where we feel it's necessary. So where there's competence that can be met via rotations, we will absolutely look at that. And it's also about giving you guys as graduates the opportunity to experience different pockets of the business. You know, the plan is to work with yourselves on your individual interests, but also the business requirements from a demand perspective. So it is being looked at. It is a project. It's a really exciting project to be working on as well, because I feel like we're really taking it to that next step in terms of the graduate programme. So it will be worked on and developed in the near future. So I'm just conscious of time. So I'm going to now hand back to Career Map to kind of close the event. But I just wanted to say thank you for everyone for participating today. It's been great to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you so much to all the speakers from Babcock for coming across to the session. Apologies for any of the technical difficulties that we have had. And thank you to everyone, all the attendees that have attended. And I hope all the information that has been shared has been invaluable, and good luck to anyone who is applying for the programs and who is on course to join in Babcock. Any final words from anyone from the speakers?
I think it's just, as we said, a huge thank you to you all. We know you're very busy. Huge thank you to all of the grads at Babcock as well for supporting this event. Some really useful insights from you all. And just to encourage you all to take a look at the website. I think I might have to give you the link, Career Map, because I've not quite had time to put it in the chat, and I think it's going to disappear. But if you can circulate that link to the participants, I would gladly welcome you to apply for our programme. So do have a look. There is something for everybody on the website. There really is. We've got over 30 graduate programmes, and we've got many apprenticeships as well. So do take a look. All right.
Okay. And thank you again.